Okay, so welcome back to the design stream. Yes, Mecha. Mecha! We are here to talk about Mecha. And we're here to talk about this game. Yes. Wow, okay, so, since last time, there's been a lot of changes. There's been a lot of revisions. This game has gone from being a bunch of ideas on paper to having a bunch of mechanics and almost being a real game, I think. So let's talk about this. So first of all, let's do the important thing. Yeah, we got a title. All systems nominal. Anybody who's played MechWarrior is going to recognize what that is all about. Seems a little bit nice for a mech game. Well, that'll do for now. So, we have a title. The game has a title now. That is good. Yes. So, this is actually outdated. I've already done a lot of this stuff today. On my way to work. Did a lot of hacking on the train. So, let's get into this. Let's talk about it. Okay, so, first things... character creation. We're going to have backgrounds, just like in WoDu Turbo. And then we're going to have specializations. And as many have astutely pointed out to me, I have stumbled upon a system very similar to John Harper's old game, Lady Blackbird. So if you look at Lady Blackbird, you can see that she has traits, and then these traits have like specializations. So basically, we're going to have these kind of like sub-domains. Now, this is very like Burning Wheel light, and I guess what we're doing is kind of like Lady Blackbird light. It's just going to be a couple things, so at least to start out with. So yeah, 2 specializations that describe how the background shaped the PC. So let's say your background was labor, maybe you have one specialization that is like, you know, like solidarity wise, or you have like another that's like toughness. I don't know. This is going to be something that really needs to be worked out, and I'm going to be doing a lot of work on like lists and stuff going forward. If you come from like a privileged background, maybe you have like networking, and you have like educated or something like that. Okay. Anyway, this is the plan for the moment. This may be something that needs to be changed. Choose a talent. The talents are going to be like in WoDu Turbo, World of Dungeons Turbo. We're going to make those up. Choose a character name. Create a mech. So there's a separate procedure for that. Set your edge to 1. So we're going to have to change the wording here, because in some places I think we still have that as strain. Yeah. So we'll change strain. Find strain. Replace with edge. Yeah. Okay, so why am I doing that? Just because I think edge feels more like you are an ace pilot kind of thing, instead of being like, you know, strain, which is more like you are this working class hero put into a tough situation. And set your rank, which is like your level, right? So just bringing up WoDu Turbo. So this, you're going to start here with your experience. Or no, wait, you'll start here. Yeah. Yeah, so you start at rank 0. Then you move up to rank 1, which will be Colt, Pro, Ace, Veteran. And then, what else we got going on? So that's the basics of character creation. There's quite a bit to creating a mech, so it's not quite this simple. But the other things we're talking about, we have an action roll, similar to the action roll in Blades in the Dark. And I'm just giving it that name. It's not really the same thing, but I don't really have a better name for it at the moment. So, how does this work? You do a d6 dice pool, and you roll, and oh, this needs to be gone. So roll, you make a d6 dice pool out of, okay, so here we go. D6 dice pool, it has crit, success, mixed success, miss as in Blades, which is to say, if you roll a 1 to 3 on your highest die out of your dice pool, you get a miss. If you roll a 4 or 5, you get a mixed success. You roll a 6, you get a success. And you roll 2 6s, you get boxcars or more, then you get a crit. So that is the same as in Blades. The player announces their intent and the relevant characteristics they want to use. So talents, backgrounds, specializations, as well as the weapon used in the case of combat. So it should be relevant characteristics, and yes, so so you'll see this is very similar to Lady Blackbird. In Lady Blackbird, yes. When you try to overcome an obstacle, you roll dice. Start with 1 die. Add a die if you have a trait that can help you. If that trait has any tags that apply, add another die for each tag. Finally, add any number of dice from your personal pool of dice. Yeah, this is going to be pretty similar. You're going to have your background you could draw on. You're going to have your specializations you can draw on. And then you have your talents you can draw on, your equipment you can draw on, and also you're going to have situational stuff. So I need to make that more clear in the description here. So relevant characteristics they want to use. So this should also be equipment. Fictional positioning, as well as the weapon used in the case of combat. The GM then decides the bonuses and penalties. So the GM is going to say, yes, that's relevant. No, that's not relevant. No, that's not relevant. Yes, that's relevant. That's going to be like in Burning Wheel. then you get the dice pool, right? After the GM reviews what the player's putting forward, you get the dice pool. If the dice pool is reduced to 0d6, right? Because you can say, the GM, you could say, oh, I only have 1d6 to do this. Then the GM could say, oh, but actually you're in a really bad situation because of this fictional positioning. Therefore, I'm knocking you down from 1d6 to 0d6. In that case, you roll 2d6 and take the lowest result. Then you roll. And so unlike in Blades, there's no setting of effect. But basically the effect setting has to do with the size of the dice pool. So this is just kind of a note to myself, really, more than anything. So I can take that out because it's not actually part of the procedure. Yeah. So basically, it's like if you roll and you get a mixed result, then you have limited effect, right? That's kind of the situation. We're getting rid of that separate effect system from Blades because I don't think that there's no setting associated with this game, and I feel like the effect system in Blades only really works because it is tightly integrated with the setting of the game. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's how I feel for the moment, at least. In case of combat, a crit means the attack deals maximum damage plus an exploding d6. So that means if you roll on that d6, or you roll that d6, and you get a 6 on there, you get to roll again and again and again, as long as you keep getting 6s. So why am I doing that? It's because in, a game like BattleTech, when you get that crit and you blow up their internal ammo reserves and it just cascades, that's the kind of thing that I want to capture with that exploding d6. That really kind of wow, shocking, swingy kind of thing. Okay, so mech sizes. So a lot of mech games, as we saw when we were reviewing all these other games, they have various sizes of mechs. We kind of have that in this game, but really as far as who can damage whom and that kind of thing, there's only 2 sizes. There's person size and mech size. That's it. And the reason why I'm doing that is, one, to provide sort of rule simplification, but the other reason I'm doing it is because I want this to be a game I can play with settings that have various sizes of mechs. So, for example, I want to playtest this game in the BattleTech universe, but I also want to playtest this game in the Front Mission universe, and those have radically different sizes of mechs. So rather than say, person size, suit, light, medium, heavy, super heavy, or something like that. Instead, we just have person and mech. Now, armor. This is a thing that most mech games have. So I thought about possibly doing the Blades in the Dark style. You can use armor like an item to reduce damage. But because we're using HP in this game, I think it makes sense to do armor as damage reduction. So armor is straight damage reduction, like in World of Dungeons Turbo Breakers. But damage type resistance can be taken that reduces the damage type by 1 step. So a 2d6 goes to 1d6 goes to 1d3. So what this is like in a lot of mech games, there are different types of damage, right? There are energy weapons, there are kinetic weapons, and there are explosive weapons, right? And I'm going to make it so you can take equipment on your mech that gives you resistance to 1 damage type, right? That's something you see in so many games, but one thing you might be familiar with it from is Front Mission 5, right? There's different armor types to match the different attack types. So what I'm doing here is you get a certain amount of damage reduction with your armor. Like your armor's 4, so you subtract 4 from the damage that hits your mech. But if the enemy is rolling against you and you have damage resistance to that type of damage, so say they're shooting a laser cannon at you and you have energy weapon resistance, then their damage goes down from 2d6 to 1d6. They roll, and then the armor damage reduction is applied. So, you know, let's say they roll a 6, then you only take 2 damage because you have 4 armor. And Mecha have damage reduction versus... Or, sorry, Mecha have resistance. Damage resistance versus all infantry scale weapons. So all infantry scale weapons are reduced by 1 step in how much damage they do versus Mecha. So that is the size mechanic coming into play here. Speed is tied to load as per the breakers rules. So if you look here, you can see that depending on what your load limit is, your speed is changed. And attacks are only going to use 1 weapon at a time unless the player alpha strikes. So in some games, they allow you to set a different target for each weapon. And that's something we saw in Stars Without Number, right? But I'm going to make it so that when you attack, you can only attack with 1 weapon normally unless you alpha strike. And when you alpha strike... you see roll damage for each of your weapons, and it produces extra heat. There are some cases where it might actually produce less heat than it might otherwise. So I'm thinking about what is the correct number for this. What is the good damage trade-offs or the heat trade-offs. But this is where I'm at right now, and I'm going to make an extra upgrade, like an equipment thing you can take, that allows you to assign a target for each weapon in your Alpha Strike, instead of just hitting 1 target. That way there's like the normal attack, which is 1 weapon, the Alpha Strike, which is all your weapons, and then on top of that, there is the possibility of multi-targeting Alpha Strikes. Yeah. So pilot abilities are represented by talents, kind of like Lancer, but the talents are going to be similar to these ones from World of Dungeons, or World of Dungeons Turbo. And the mecha features are represented by equipment. These equipment things here. So this is going to be where your actual like mech stats are. Damage. So mecha have HP. It's going to be this, your HP. And pilots have a scar track, which is like this, except there's going to be 4 points on the track. So if you are out of your vehicle and doing stuff in like free play and you get shot, you're going to take a scar. Okay? So like, you know, you get a miss, it's like the worst result. You get shot, you take a scar. If you get hit by a mech weapon, you are always taking a scar. So even if it's a mixed result, you're taking a scar. And you have 4, and then you're out of commission. So you effectively have 4 HP as a pilot. But you can only take 1 damage at a time. As for Mecha, they use the standard HP system. So this is, again, similar in a way to Lancer, but we're still simplifying the mech combat greatly compared to what Lancer does. So if the mech will be reduced to 0 HP, the player can decide to instead pass through the damage with scars. So they can say, oh, my mech is going to be destroyed. Instead, I'm going to take a scar. If the damage will reduce the mech to less than the negative of half its total HP, the pilot must take 2 scars to resist the damage. So for example, the mech has 10 HP and we go down to -6, which is less than -5, meaning that the pilot can resist by taking 2 scars. This is just to make it so that, like, you know, mega damage can't just be reduced with, like, 1 scar. This is, like, very serious stuff. It's to reflect the severity. And a pilot hit by a mecha skill weapon takes a scar. So a pilot should be a pilot hit directly by a mech skill weapon takes a scar. Okay, resting and healing. Resting resets your heat gauge. When you rest, you can heal at least 1d6 HP. So this is on your mech, remember. It's not to your pilot, it's on your mech. The GM will add extra healing d6s depending on the quality of the repair facilities available. So that you go through this little procedure. Is the rest area equipped with a repair station? So you get 1d6 healing for that. Is the equipment high spec? You get another d6 for that. Are there technicians, PCs, or NPCs available to perform repairs? You get another d6 for that. And is there the exact material necessary to perform repairs? You get another d6 for that. On top of that, the players can choose to spend an auto repair kit for an additional 1d6 healing. So even if these are all no, you can still get 2d6 by spending a repair kit. Finally, the players can choose to spend 1 edge to get an extra 1d6 healing. And this reduces the maximum edge restored by resting by 1. So you can't just say, I spend my edge, I rest, and I get my edge back. I'm not so sure about this one. I might take this out. We have other ways of using edge, so we'll see. Scars cannot be healed by any normal means. So it's not like you can take a heal kit and then remove a scar. You probably have to do like a long-term project to restore a scar. But it's possible, it's just you can't do it easily. Resting does not automatically restore destroyed systems and restore ammo. Those resources must be acquired for them to be restored. So it's not like it's not like in Lancer where you go to rest and then you automatically get back all your equipment. No, you actually have to worry about running out of ammo, restoring broken parts on your mech, that kind of thing. You have to worry about it. Resources have some scarcity in this game. Okay, so let's talk about heat. This is obviously a new system that we're adding to the game on top of the other systems that we brought in from WoDu Turbo. The heat track is 8 segments. It's restored by resting, as we saw. If your mech overheats, which is to say it goes... that is to say it fills the track, right? One of its pieces of equipment is disabled, and the mech takes 1d6 damage. Then its heat is reduced by 1. So you disable one of your pieces of equipment, you take d6 damage, and then you reduce your heat by 1, so you go from 8 down to 7. You can spend a heat sink, you know, whenever you have the opportunity to reduce your heat by d6. These sources add heat. So electronic warfare attacks, environmental hazards, being hit by weapons that deal heat damage, that have the heat tag, firing weapons that generate the heat, they have the hot tag, alpha strikes generate heat, as we saw, and overed boost generates heat. So overed boost is another thing I'm adding to the game. Many mecha games, like, for example, Chris Perrin's Mecha or Lancer, have some kind of overdrive mechanic. That's what this is. I'm just taking the word overed boost from Armored Core because it's funny English, and it sounds kind of cool. So this gives plus 1d6 to any roll involving a mech and adds 1d6 heat. So this is like getting a... this is like getting one edge for free, right? You're spending heat to get effectively an edge. It has desperate situational use and functions like strain. Should be edge. But at a huge cost. Because you can overheat, take damage. It can be very bad. So heat, right. So if you're wondering, like, when can you reduce heat if you're not resting, it's by spending a heat sink. That's how you do it. And we might say, like... environmental situational factors can also reduce heat, like for example being on a ice planet, right? Like that could reduce heat. Okay, so your ammo. This isn't specifically tracked, but the GM can remove the use of a weapon on a miss with the justification of using up their stuff. Weapons that use it have the ammo tag. It should be restored when the squadron has access to resupply. So if your weapon has the ammo tag, it's possible that the GM can say, oh, you rolled a miss? Okay, that means you do your damage, but now your weapon is out of ammo. And you can't resupply unless you already have the supplies like in your supply train or at a base that you're going to, or you can acquire them. Equipment. So yes, there are primary or secondary systems. So you can see here, these are going to be the primary systems, and then these will be the secondary systems. There's going to be 2 equipment lists. And how many you get of each is going to be determined by these load limits. Weapons have damage types, tags, so like energy weapons, kinetic weapons, etc. These are going to be separated to normal and special weapons, as in breakers. Some have the hot tag, others don't. Some have the hot and or ammo tags, others don't. So this is a thing I'm gonna work on this. I have some ideas about this. Mecha creation. So you choose a weight class. Your weight class can be ultralight. It's 1, light 2, standard 3, or heavy 4. These determine your mount points and speed. So these are effectively like this load, this load, this load, or this load, right? The primary system mount points, these are the on-hand equip limit in breakers, and then the secondary system mount points are the pack equip limit. Your melee damage is equal to XD6 plus your weapon damage, where X is equal to your weight class. So it would be like 1, 2, 3, or 4. Having lower speed than a target gives you a penalty to hit. Being higher speed than a target means you get a bonus. So what this means is the higher your weight class, the more damage you do in a melee attack, but the harder it is for you to hit the opponent. However, you can always like overboost yourself to get a chance to hit them anyway. So it creates some interesting decisions. But melee is going to be, you know, very strong, similar to like BattleTech. Calculate your starting HP and set it to max. Okay, so we have to come up with a formula for that. We'll probably start out at the same as breakers. You choose a configuration. So this is your equipment loadout for your mech. And then you write 3 special systems for your mech models, subject to GM review. And the idea I got here was from Original World of Dungeons, the class creation system. So you just like make up a little list of skills in that, and then that's your class, right? So here you're going to create 3 special systems which are on top of your equipment list. You pick one at character creation, and then you pick one more at ace and another at veteran. So effectively that means you get one here, and then one at level 4 and another at level 5. You choose a mech model name, so like the, you know, Shadowhawk, right? And you choose a manufacturer. This is just like a background, but like it's possible that that could actually enter into dice roll calculations, because you could be like, oh yeah, like my mech is, you know, from this manufacturer that's really known to be very reliable, or this manufacturer that's known to make very like elegant stuff. You know, that's a really like important thing in like Armored Core or Front Mission, or even in Lancer. They really focus on that manufacturer element. And the mission clock replaces the Cloud of Woe. This is something I'm still thinking about. I have some ideas for this, but I want to look at the sprawl for more ideas there. Then we have a resistance roll. I added that from Blaze in the Dark. It's a little different here, though. The player can spend an edge to resist any consequence of a roll except HP damage. So if you're taking HP damage, you can't resist that. While HP damage can't be resisted in this way, death can. So it means that if you are either going to max out your scars, or you are going to hit 0 HP, you can make a resistance roll to avoid that. So to resist, the player rolls 1d6. It's not something you can build a dice pool over. Results are as follows. You get a success. The consequence is completely resisted, so that's a 6. If you get a 4 or 5, the consequence is significantly less severe. And if you get a miss, the consequence is only slightly less severe. Yeah. So we'll see how that works. We'll see how that works. The reason why I am not doing it like in Blades, where there's a stress cost involved, is because, again, the sort of like stress currency edge is much less plentiful in this game, which means that you can't really say, oh, spend 4 stress to resist. So instead, we're going to make it so you spend like 1 stress, like your edge, and that's a more precious resource. And then because we can't adjust how much it costs you in terms of edge, we're going to adjust how much it costs you in terms of your fictional positioning. We'll see how that works. We'll see how that works. The mission performance evaluation. So this is like your payoff. The evaluation determines your advancement, and your performance is graded from your mission. Exceptional performance gives you 2 ticks on the XP track based on a target number. So you get these questions after you finish a mission. Did the team complete their primary objective? You get +1. Did the team complete at least 1 secondary objective? You get another +1. Did the team complete all their objectives? You get another +1. Did the team avoid taking heavy damage? You get another +1. And did the team overcome overwhelming odds? You get another +1. Then your result is scored as follows. 0 is a D rank, 1 is a C rank, 2 is a B rank, 3 is an A rank, and 4 is an S rank. A rank and above counts as exceptional performance. If the team scores a D rank in 2 or more evaluations in a row, the highest ranking PC in the group makes a fortune roll. On a miss, all the PCs in the unit are demoted 1 rank. So this means that what this is there to do is to make missions have stakes and to also make the resources system meaningful, because your resources don't only go up, they can also go down, which is, you know, something you get in like Battletech, the PC game, right? If you fail missions, then you're not going to get your payout, and then you're going to be in a tight spot in terms of resources. Okay, so speaking of resources, let's talk about them. So this is basically acquire asset from Blades in the Dark. So whenever the players wish to acquire an asset, the GM sets a minimum quality level for the asset based on its rarity from 1 to 3. Actually, it should be from 0 to 3. The player makes a fortune roll with their rank, plus or minus situational bonuses and penalties. The resulting item quality is as follows. So you get a miss is a 0, a mixed success is a 1, a success is a 2, a critical is a 3. If the item meets or exceeds its minimum quality level, it is acquired. If it exceeds its minimum quality level by 2, it counts as a fine item and gives an additional bonus d6 when used. So let's say that I am trying to get ammo, right? I'm trying to get ammo for my missile launcher. Okay, so the GM says that the minimum quality necessary to get that is a 1. And then I score a crit, it means that I get fine missile ammo, which means when I roll with that missile ammo, I get an extra d6 bonus. If the item does not meet its minimum quality level, it can only be acquired at great cost. So you get a hard bargain or a long-term project that you have to do to get the item. And multiple assets can be acquired at once. In order to do so, take the value of the highest quality item being acquired and add +1 to the minimum quality level for each additional item acquired. If the minimum quality level is exceeded by 2 or more, the fine tag is applied to all acquired assets. So let's say I want to get ammo for my missile launcher, and I also want to get, let's say, a new arm part for my mech. So both of those are maybe like a quality 1, but because I am trying to get 2 items at once, it means I need to roll at least a 2 to get that item. And in that case, what it means is that you need to roll at least a 2, so it's impossible to crit. But if you are trying to get something that's quality 0, it is possible that you could actually get 2 items that are both fine quality. So this maybe needs some adjustment, but at least I think it is a functional system for the moment. I would like to... like, I don't want to make it so you can spend edge to increase your quality level, like you can spend coin. So, because the thing is, like, this is the resources system. So you can't do that thing like in Blades where you can spend coin to increase the quality of the asset you require, because you only have the one system. There's nothing from the outside you can use as a resource to increase this. So I think we're kind of stuck with this system for the moment if we don't want to implement some kind of currency, and I would rather stay away from that. Because then that, you know, and what that means is that we don't need to put prices on everything, and that means that the system is way more setting agnostic, which is a good thing. All right, the engagement role. You use this at the start of a mission and at the start of combat. You ask these questions. Is the team well supplied? You get +1D on your engagement role. Does the team have reliable and relevant intelligence? You get +1D. Is the team especially vulnerable to the, or is the enemy especially vulnerable to the team's approach? You get +1D. Is the team engaging in a strongly held, or engaging a strongly held position? Then you get -1D. So it should be strongly held enemy position. Does the approach involve an exceedingly complex battle plan? You get -1D. And is the broader operational situation in the team's favor? You get +1D. So this is like, are you pushing in on an offensive that is like, that has momentum, right? Or are you fighting a retreat? Have you been isolated on the broader battlefield? And this is to take into account things like, how likely is it that you'll get reinforced? That sort of stuff. It's to take into account the like broader situation and momentum of the battle. And there's also free play, like in Blades. If a player wants to do something risky or uncertain between missions, use an action roll, fortune roll, or long-term project to represent them confronting this obstacle. Use these scenes to develop the characters in the world. That's it. Just like, you know, figure it out. Just do it. And long-term projects. So if a PC is doing something that requires a considerable amount of time, resources, or both, they should begin a long-term project to see it to its resolution. First, the GM and the player agree on what will happen when the project is concluded. Then the GM sets a 6, 8, or 10 segment clock to represent its progress. Once between missions, the player can make a fortune roll with the relevant stat and the relevant bonuses and penalties. They mark off clock segments as follows. So a miss is 0, mixed success is a 1, a success is 2, and a critical is 3. So if you have like a 10 segment clock, it could take 4 missions to actually get to the point of finishing a long-term project. Yeah. So these are all pretty serious. I wonder if 4 segments should be in there too, because you can, the highest you can get is a 3. Let's say a 4, 6, 8, or 10. Yeah. Okay, so I think I only have really like time to do maybe one thing tonight before I go get ready for work tomorrow. So I think I want to focus on weapons. So looking at Mecha here, Chris Parent's Mecha. There actually are some pretty good points for making weapon systems. So that's page 20. So you give it a name, you give it an optimal range. So every weapon has an optimal range, which is the range at which it is most effective. So this is, I'm going to use the range system from Apocalypse World for this, right? So you can be, it could be melee, close, far, or extreme, right? That's the optimal range. So you just get a tag. That's all you get. This is, you know, way more complex than what we need to worry about. But, like, I think that's a good point to be like, okay, this is a thing you need to add to a weapon. The damage type, so impact, missile, and energy. So I think maybe I want to use the types from Lancer. So kinetic, energy, and explosive, I think, are the types we're going to use here. And oh yeah, so it could be kinetic, energy, explosive, or melee. Yeah. And that's it, right? So you have a name, an optimal range, and a damage type. And then on top of that, I want to add like extra tags in certain cases. So you also need to choose a damage value. So it should be name, range, damage type, damage value. And then, like, let's look at how Breakers does this. So you go, when you choose special weapon, 1d6 damage for either close combat or range battle, plus 1 special feature. Armor piercing, far, heavy, or spray. So the most damage you can do with the weapon is 1d6 plus 3. Yeah, so we'll maybe make like super heavy weapons, but they're gonna take like a ton of equipment slots to use. Okay, cool. So okay, so we're gonna let's work this out. Let's write this down. Okay, so weapon creation. Okay, so we're gonna say choose a name. Choose a maybe I'll add this afterwards. I'll put it later, but I'll write it down for now. Decide if it is primary or secondary. And then we had choose the optimal range. So this can be melee, short, far, or extreme. Choose the damage type. So these were explosive, kinetic, energy, or in the case of melee, they do not have a damage type. So explosive, kinetic or energy. Ranged only. So choose a name, choose the optimal range, choose the damage type, decide if it is primary or secondary, and before we do that, so we're going to say, so like add bonus characteristics. So what do we have? It could be a heat weapon gets plus heat. It could be heavy weapon plus +3 damage. It could be an ultra heavy. So yeah, it would be like you choose heavy weapon and then you choose ultra heavy weapon plus 1d6. So you have to take, if you take heavy weapon, then you can take ultra heavy weapon. What else could it be? Like high impact plus knockback. And what else do we have in here? Okay, so we should do this. Choose the optimal range, melee, short, or far, extreme range, oh right, area of effect does plus area, I think would be the Apocalypse World tag. What else could we take? I think this is probably Okay, so yeah, you add the bonus characteristics and then add penalty characteristics. So these would be like, it's hot, gives you plus hot. It is, bulky, plus 1 equipment slot. No, that doesn't make sense. Never mind. It could be pinprick, so like reduce damage by 1 step. Like reduce damage by half. I think that's fair. What else could it be? Ammo. So it takes plus ammo tag. Is that it? Loud. Well, all mech weapons are loud. Maybe like unreliable. Okay, so these are some basic ideas. So these are going to add one load for each. And subtract 1 load for each. Then decide if it's primary or secondary. So I think it's like probably if it has more than 1 tag, it should be a primary weapon. Okay. So name, optimal range, damage type, bonus characteristics, penalty characteristics. Is it primary or secondary? And I think that'll be it. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, so we have like the basics here. I'm gonna probably look more into the text of Lancer to add something to that. But that's a start. Cool. Okay, so we're getting there. We're getting there. We started this, so that's good. And we're still only, what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages. 4.5 pages long. Okay, that's not bad. We're obviously going to get a bit more length when we go and add traits and backgrounds, but this is all going to shrink down because we're going to do some formatting stuff, and we're going to use landscape instead of portrait, and we are going to work on editing down the text. Cool. So now we have weapon creation. So we just need to do an equipment list. So like this is the non-weapon equipment. So we know we have like let's say auto repair drones. We have heat sinks, armor, like specialized armor, like special armor maybe. Resistance to damage type. There'd probably be like sensors. Like a hacking module. Jump jets. Hover systems. Flight systems. These are like super expensive if you want to take these. Anything else? Maybe a shield. You can take a shield on top of armor, because a lot of games have that. Gives you an extra armor. +1 armor can be used as a melee weapon 1d6. Oh. And then the alpha strike thing, I think, will be a special system, not a normal equipment thing. Oh. And then like ammo, probably that's a thing. You have to spend a certain amount of weight for your ammunition. So if you have a weapon that uses ammo, you have to spend a certain amount for ammo. Maybe. Okay. Anyway, I think that's enough for today. So we took a look at all the progress we made, and we got the weapon creation down, and we started on the equipment list, so that's good. All right. Yeah, we got a long way to go, but progress is being made. I definitely won't be streaming tomorrow, but probably Wednesday I'll be back at it. So I will see you then. Bye.